How about you all sit there quietly while I make dad noises?
Dad noises. Dad noises.
Ran over and go to the John.
Welcome to Dad Noises, the podcast for dads, by a dad, without a dad. I'm your host, JP. What is going on? How are you doing, listeners? I hope everything is going great for you. I hope that you've had a good week since the last episode. I'm going to be honest with you guys, the listeners out there. I think honesty is important, especially for a podcast. And I kind of been going through a little depression spell or depressed feelings or whatever you want to call it, being a bitch. I don't know, whatever it is. But yeah, my last week has not been that great. It's been pretty rough lately. I can even feel it in my workouts at the gym. It's just harder to get going, harder to get motivated, being a little bit more snappy, I find myself getting a little more frustrated, easier, things like that. So this week's been kind of rough. And to be honest, doing this show was not something that I necessarily feel like doing at all. But I'm trying my best to do the opposite of how I feel, and trying to make sure that I continue with my responsibilities. And I feel responsible. I like the show. I like where the show's headed. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. I've noticed that getting a little pickup in the viewership and the listeners. So that's awesome. It's great. It feels good. So just keep sharing it for me. Whatever. I'm making shorts throughout the week. Make sure you watch those on YouTube if you don't catch the episode. But yeah, it's been going. So I'm just going to keep it up and try my best. And that's what you all out there listening need to remember to do too, which it's hard at times. I just get in these funks where I just feel confused about life so much to the point where I start I build like these expectations in my head of what and how life is supposed to be, and they're not met, or something goes wrong, or whatever. Okay, sorry, I'm having some technical issues, and I'm in here by myself today, but it's just, I just get in these down moments, and it's not fair because I find that I take it out on people around me, and I go through these phases where it just feels like almost pointless to an extent. I've never been suicidal, and I don't think that it's ever never gotten to that extreme before. But I've definitely been at a point where it's like, man, if I didn't have a kiddo here, to be responsible for, it would be hard to not want to just waste away, just don't do anything and sit and have no pressure, no stress, and do nothing. But you can't do that. That's impossible. A life like that doesn't exist without a kid, whatever. But it sucks because in those moments, it just feels like that. It just feels like I get like super nihilistic. I just like, what's the point? Didn't ask to be here, and like having to deal with all the stuff that's being dealt with. It's rough, and it sucks, but it's a part of life. And it's a part of what's going on. So when I feel like that, I just try to remember, just tried my best to write it out. Because sometimes there's not even a reason. I just wake up and feel like that. So, and then other times I wake up and I'm like on top of the world. So I just go through spurts and moments. And this is just one of those moments. But before this show started, one of the big things for me to do another podcast was I'm not going to just stop doing it, because I feel a certain type of way. If I'm going to do this, I need to commit to it and make sure that I'm doing it once a week. And this was one of those weeks where it was just like, I had to really keep that promise to myself and continue to do the show. So that's why I'm here today. And I hope that I can make a show that's good and that you enjoy listening to this week. Because I know me, I'm a big podcast listener. And so that's why I like doing the show, because I'm so motivated by listening to other podcasts. So just the fact that I know it stinks whenever an episode isn't as good as you expect, as you hoped or whatever, because I look forward to the podcast that I listen to weekly. But, and if this is your favorite podcast, for one, I don't think I'm anybody's favorite podcast, but if it was, you need to listen to more podcasts. That's for sure. So I just got a breaking news alert, and I don't know what's going on, but the Pentagon just shot down an object flying over Alaska waters just like a couple hours ago. So let's go ahead and go into that story because it is currently happening right now. So this is from the New York Times. Okay, so the Pentagon shot down object over Alaska, U.S. officials say. The incident comes less than a week after U.S. fighter jet shot down a Chinese spy balloon over the Atlantic. So this is now the second object in our airfield that we're having to shoot down. And I wonder how many times something like this occurs and we don't know anything about it, but why is it being blasted? Because I doubt this is the first time that they've ever had to shoot stuff down. I would be really surprised. I think there's something going on. There's a reason why they're putting it in the news, but it just feels like these people in power are just slowly inching towards a world war, and they do not give a fuck, because you know what, they think they have their little bunkers or they have their little things figured out, and they're going to be safe throughout this engagement. But they don't care about the people like us. Not like some of them do, but not like they should. It truly feels like that, especially whenever they're just slowly inching us more and more. And I just don't get how why can't these countries just people get along? I don't know. It sounds so kumbaya, so whatever, but that's just how I feel. It's just the truth. It just seems like it would be much easier, but also people are not easy. So that's coming from somebody that knows that I'm not an easy person sometimes. So the Pentagon shot down an unidentified object over frozen waters around Alaska on Friday at the order of President Biden, according to U.S. officials less than a week after U.S. fighter jet shot down a Chinese spy balloon. John Kirby, a White House spokesperson, confirmed the incident at a news conference on Friday. The U.S. officials said they could not immediately confirm whether the object was a balloon, but it was traveling at an altitude that made it a potential threat to civilian aircraft. Wow. So what is going on? These countries, Alaska makes you think that it's something from Russia. But, you can't be sure, but it does make you feel like that because that is the area that it would be coming down from. So I don't know. Maybe it wasn't from a country. Maybe it was a fucking alien. Maybe that's the case. Let me see what was sent to me, because I actually got a video sent to me. First of all, let me see. I'm going to get this video for you guys on the screen so y'all can watch it with me.
To add to information already provided earlier by the White House, at the direction of the President of the United States, fighter aircraft assigned to U.S. Northern Command successfully took down a high-altitude airborne object off the northern coast of Alaska at 1:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today, within U.S. sovereign airspace over U.S. territorial water. On February 9, North American Aerospace Defense Command detected an object on ground radar and further investigated and identified the object using fighter aircraft. The object was flying at an altitude of 40,000 feet and posed a reasonable threat to the safety of civilian flight. U.S. Northern Command is beginning recovery operations now. U.S. Northern Command's Alaska Command coordinated the operation with assistance from the Alaska Air National Guard, Federal Aviation Administration, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. We have no further details about the object at this time, including any description of its capabilities, purpose, or origin. The object was about the size of a small car, so not similar in size or shape to the high-altitude surveillance balloon that was taken down off the coast of South Carolina on February 4. Separately, U.S. Northern Command continues their recovery operations in support of the recent takedown of the Chinese high-altitude surveillance balloon. Recovery teams have mapped the debris field and are in the process of searching for and identifying debris on the ocean floor. Debris that's been recovered so far is being loaded onto vessels, taken ashore, cataloged, and then moved onwards to labs for subsequent analysis. And while I won't go into specifics due to classification reasons, I can say that we have located a significant amount of debris so far that will prove helpful to our further understanding of this balloon and its surveillance capabilities. Of note, due to less than favorable sea states right now, teams will continue to conduct underwater survey and recovery as conditions permit. The department wants to thank our interagency partners from the U.S. Coast Guard, the FBI, and state and local authorities for their continuing assistance and partnership.
Wow. Wow, that's really interesting. So it makes you wonder, because it's weird because they didn't identify what it was. They kept saying object. They just said it wasn't a balloon and it wasn't the same size and shape. It was the size of a minivan, but they're not necessarily saying what the object was. Was it machinery? Was it an airplane? What was it? So, and what's creepy is you hear all these stories about all these Air Force pilots seeing unidentified objects in the sky, like these pyramid-shaped objects that travel super fast, and it's almost like these objects know where the airplane will be before the airplane gets there. It's just interesting how they have cited these airplanes, these I forgot what they call them now. They don't call them UFOs anymore. They started calling them something else, but they keep seeing these things. Commercial pilots, Air Force pilots, all types of pilots are seeing these pyramid-shaped type objects, and it makes you wonder: is that what this thing is? Is it one of these UFOs? I wish I knew the new term that they use for them now, but I don't know. Maybe it's the next Roswell. Maybe the WB will make another hit show out of it, and they'll call it Alaska, because it was shot over Alaska. But I don't know. It's interesting, because if it's another country, it worries you because you're like, oh my gosh, this is just like another possible act of war or something pushing us to this brink of war, or it's something out of this world that hopefully is here. I hope to save us or something. But I feel like if it was an advanced alien technology, they wouldn't be shot down. There's no way that they would allow us to shoot them down, because if they can get here from light years away or travel from different galaxies or whatever, there's no way one of our missiles or whatever is going to be able to take out a advanced technology like that. So obviously it's probably something man-made, more than likely, because we don't live in fantasy land, and hopefully it's not something that shows an act of war or whatever. But I mean, flying over Alaska is kind of strange. There's not much out there. What are you looking for? But it's like, it makes you wonder if it was trying to make its way down here from somewhere like Russia, that region. So I guess with further updates, we'll learn more. There's not really releasing much right now. With China doing this balloon thing, it just, you immediately think if it's another Chinese thing, that's even worse too. So, I don't know. I know I say I don't know a lot because I really just don't. I've gotten to the point with this stuff where it's almost easier just to ignore these types of news stories, and it's almost easier to just act like they're not happening around you, because what are you going to do? There's really nothing I can do. There's nothing that I can do to stop what's going on. I don't have any power, whatever. We vote these people in, and I say vote with air quotes because, there's a lot of questionable things that happen with a lot of elections over years, not just the last one, and not just the one in where Bush won Florida. There's been a lot of things that's have happened over the year with the elections. So You can't really trust that any of these people are in there for the people and for the right reasons. So, I like to think that some of them are, and I'm sure there are some good ones out there, but, hopefully they step up or something, because we're just kind of at a point where we're at their mercy, unfortunately, or at least that's how it feels. So I don't know. Again, I feel like that's the title of this freaking episode. I don't know. But what I do know is that we had one good thing that has happened over the weekend. I started to show kind of sad boy, and but I did have a good time. We did go to this magic show as a family. We surprised the little one with a show, and man, it was fun. I mean, it makes you feel like a kid again. It makes you feel like the sense of wonder and awe. You're like, how the fuck did they do that? There's just some things where you just couldn't believe that happened. So many times there were moments where I was like, how? Because whenever I was in junior high, I was really big into magic. I loved magic, and I could do all kinds of shit. And I know how to do some of even those big stage tricks just from like watching YouTube videos and stuff of people revealing, like that masked magician guy back in the 2000s where he would wear the mask and show you how the secrets, the magic tricks were done and reveal the secrets and stuff like that. And man, it was just amazing. It's just so much fun. It was 4 acts. They were all from the UK, and they, I think they were 3 of them were from the UK. I don't remember. Maybe they all were, because there was one guy, he was Hispanic, and he was like the escape artist. He did an escape where he was hanging over the stage, and there was this clamp thing with huge freaking metal daggers almost inside this what looks like a mouse trap for a person, where like a Saw game. It literally looked like we were watching Saw take place on stage, and this guy's in a straitjacket hanging upside down, and we're the puppets. The people in the crowd are the puppets, and we're watching, and we're like, that creepy laugh the Saw doll does, and that's us in the crowd watching, and we're just waiting. And so not only was this contraption extremely sharp and definitely gonna stab him and cut his body into bits, he also had it on fire, so that was cool. And there was a rope on fire that was holding it, and he had about 60 seconds to undo his straitjacket, and then to take his ankles off and fall down, and he did it with like a few seconds to spare. I don't, you like to think that it's a real 100%, but then also I feel like there's some probably fail safes to it. Like that, I almost feel there's no way they allow them to go out there on stage with the risk of that possibly really killing them. But it's still impressive that, like, I guess you escape. Even just doing anything upside down is tough. I mean, just think, even like upside down, like imagine trying to be upside down and try to eat, or like even like playing with yourself upside down would be pretty tough. And then like the ending would not be fun because gravity immediately. If you're hanging upside down and you're playing with yourself, gravity is going to be your worst nightmare in about 2 minutes, 13 seconds. Gravity is you're going to remember immediately, oh my gosh, I was hanging upside down for this sick blood rush to make the orgasm 10 times better, and I forgot that gravity exists, and now my semen is dripping down my face. That's what will happen. That's why you can't do stuff like that upside down. So this guy's risking it all upside down, hanging over the stage with these clamps on fire over his body, and just with 60 seconds just trying to unhook his feet so he doesn't die. He did one where he was in a water tank, and he was holding his breath and he was trying to escape. And then they put like the curtain over the tank really fast, and then they move it. And after like so long, they reveal that he's no longer in the tank. And then he comes out from behind us in the crowd. Like he comes down the row and he's like soaking wet and like a Mexican Fabio. And he comes running down and he's like, I escaped. And we all clapped for him and stuff. So it was pretty cool. I felt bad. I felt glad that he did it and he didn't drown. But then there's also an aspect of it where it's like, witnessing a drowning on stage and going out like that and is kind of cool in style. Like, I think a death like that would be just as cool as not dying and coming out from behind us, to be honest. You die doing what you love on stage in front of a bunch of people in a trick that you probably love, that you designed and created. So, I think it's just as good. But luckily, honestly, good thing he didn't die. It was fun. They had a mentalist there, and it was really interesting because he had everybody fill out a card. It was a red envelope, and inside the envelope it had something that you write in there. Maybe it'd be a memory or something about yourself that nobody really knows. Anything. It could have been anything. And then you put your name on the outside and you put the card in there. And they put the box of the cards and they hung them up on the stage so that way you know that they didn't get like messed with. And then the box came down when he came down. And then so basically what he did was he would call the name on the envelope and without opening the envelope guess what was inside based off of, like, he would talk to somebody out in the crowd. He would call their name and they would stand up, and then he would guess what they wrote down. And he was right on cue. He told this lady that she collected little moose figurines, and that was what she wrote in the envelope. And then this other lady had a car wreck where her car was like filling up with water and she had to escape out the roof. And he said that he guessed that. And I mean, those guys are amazing. I would love to be learn mentalism, because that's all it is. He even says, it's not like a trick. It's not like, they always say that it's not a trick. It's not magic. It's just, they know how to read your mannerisms, read your micro mannerisms, read your voice, read your handwriting, all kinds of stuff. And they put all that together and their brain calculates it, and somehow they spit out knowing exactly what you're thinking or what you wrote down. They make you guess certain numbers. Like he did this one trick where he had this, it was so elaborate. There's so many steps to it, but long story short, the crowd gave a bunch of like just random receipts that they had in their purse or wallet or whatever. And based off of one of those receipts, he had the guy pick the amount that was on the receipt, the name of the cashier that worked at the store during the time of the receipt being printed, and something else on the receipt. And it was all what, like, the guy on stage picked it. And the mentalist somehow planted those thoughts or those numbers in his head with, I know I've seen videos where I know that they use hand motions. They use emphasis on certain words. They say things a certain way where your brain will catch it and not realize that it caught it, and then that's what it will think. One of the times he asked the guy to give him a number. The first one was like, say a number 1 through 50, and he said a number, and then he said a number above 50, 2-digit number above 50, and I said, in my brain I thought 72, and then that's the number that the guy said on the stage. So obviously whatever the guy did or the mentalist did, my brain picked it up and it picked 72 just like the guy did. So that was pretty interesting. So it just shows you that like it works, and it works on certain people, I guess. They say that only certain people can be hypnotized and things like that. So I wonder how it works with like mentalism things where they can read people, but it's so interesting. That would be insane. It's almost like a superpower. You wonder, does he like cut it off? Like, does he like go through drive-throughs of restaurants and like get people to give him free food and shit? And then he drives off and they have no idea why they just gave this dude a free 10-piece McNuggets. It's very possible, but I mean, it's like black magic. You have a superpower. You can manipulate these people without even knowing that you're manipulating them. It's crazy. And it makes you wonder, does he turn it off? How does he have a relationship? I mean, he can get a blowjob every day. Every day that dude's getting a blowjob. There's just no way. There's no way a guy is a mentalist and isn't working it out to where he's receiving a blowjob from his chick every day. It's just happening. So, I mean, and he's probably so good at it. She could be on her period. She could be sick with the flu, all kinds of stuff. He's getting a blowjob because he somehow made her feel like she has to. It's crazy. Just imagine the power. You know, I know I used to watch Jessica Jones on Netflix. It's a Marvel series, and the villain's name was Kilgrave, and that was his power. He would tell you to do something, and then you just did it. And that's basically what this guy is. So that's pretty interesting. It was a lot of fun. Then there was a duo, and they were really funny. They had a lot of humor and comedy in theirs, and I like their grand finale because they were really into David Copperfield in the 80s and the magic. They liked that type of magic where the show was on Vegas and there was stage and there was girls and there was fire and there was animal like lions and stuff. So at the very end, they did a whole bunch of tricks really fast, huge tricks where they cut a girl in half and things blew up and there was freaking fireworks, and they had this like chick that was doing this, I don't even know what you would call it. It was almost like a trapeze type thing where she was on this, it was like a long curtain, like a giant curtain, and she's like spinning around with it somehow up really high above the stage with no pad underneath her. It was pretty fun. And then at the end of every trick, they would go, one more, and then they would keep going, and then you would think like, I was thinking like, okay, maybe they're gonna do like 3 of them and then be done, and they did like 6 tricks back to back to back to back. It was fun, and man, it was cool. They did it really fast paced, and like it was a lot of fun. And there was a girl too on the team, and she did like some art magic where she basically made somebody pick a celebrity, and then she caught this paper on fire and the face came out as that celebrity. You know, she was okay. Emery really liked her because the whole girl thing, but the other magicians were the ones that were like on point. I don't know if she was just having an off night, but Emery enjoyed it. It was fun, man. It was a lot of fun. It was really cool. It was definitely worth the money. Definitely worth going and seeing them. It's called Champions of Magic. If you ever check it out, make sure you check it out. They if they come into your town or whatever, because they put on a really good show, especially if you have kids and stuff. So it was fun. And man, who knows? Maybe I'll become a freaking magician again or something. You never know. And then also in the news of TV shows, man, I just watched. If you've seen it, you know it's a FX show, but it's on Hulu. It's called The Patient. And it's with Steve Carell, and he's a therapist, and one of his patients, who is a serial killer, holds him captive. And that's as much as I can say without giving it away. I don't want to tell you how it ends or whatever, but basically the serial killer is trying to get help for himself because he doesn't want to kill people anymore. And yeah, it's really interesting, but it's such a good show. Steve Carell kills it. He makes you like really, really, you really feel for his character, and by the end of it, you really, really, really are invested in his character. He did such an amazing job. There were some things where you just wish, I don't want to give anything away because if you haven't seen it, it's such a good show, and I don't want to ruin it. But there was just moments where you wish that Steve Carell's character made he gave a better shot at trying to escape or something, or he tried, or even to try to escape. I'll just put it that way. But make sure you watch that. That's a really good show. But it had me crying at the end, just a little bit of tears. I felt it, man. It's sad. So it has a really cool, really good life lesson in it. I guess one of those shows where you watch it and at the end of it, you're like, I need to rethink some things, or maybe that's what put me in my depression. Who knows? That show was really, really good. I was very, very surprised by it, very pleased by it, and I liked it a lot. But yeah, so check it out, The Patient on Hulu. Also, what is the deal? This is like I know I'm taking such hard turns here because I just have stuff written down in my notes that I keep over the week. But what is the deal with these bathroom stalls? Like I said, very odd, very odd. Why do they design them to where they're not touching the wall? Why is there always huge cracks, and then the walls are always like tile that's reflective? Because I noticed the other day that if I'm peeing in the toilet and you can kind of like see the reflection. Let me put it this way. One time I was peeing in the urinal, okay? Minding my own business, not trying. I wasn't on the search for crack. I'm not looking for crack, and I don't mean the drug. I mean the one between your cheeks. I was not searching for that. I was not looking for it. I didn't want to see crack at all. That was not in my daily plans that I was going to see a stranger's crack, nothing like that. But I was peeing in the urinal, and because the way the stalls are designed, where the stall wall does not touch the normal wall, you can see. And I look, just like I see like movement out of the corner of my eye. So like I look and I can see the crack, and I see the reflection of a man's booty crack in the wall, in the tile wall. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's crazy, because I've been in that position so many times where dudes were peeing next to me in the urinal and they saw my butt crack. Because I noticed one time that people will put like streamers in between the crack so that way nobody can see your ass. So I do know that people have done that. Now that I see that, I understand why they were doing it, because I was wondering at first. I saw streamers hanging up. I'm like, I guess somebody just wants a fiesta while they're taking a shit or something. Like it's a fucking party in here, a fucking Havana. It's a Havana night in the stall. So you hang up some toilet paper streamers on the sides of the stall. I thought that's what was going on, but definitely not. They were protecting the crack. They did not want anybody to see their vulnerableness of the top of their crack. And that's what you see when you see it in the reflection. You see just enough of the booty crack where it's a little bit more than a plumber's crack. Let's put it that way. So I was very caught off guard and and it stunned me to where it took me a little longer to get my stream flowing, because I was so unfocused, and so it caught me so off guard. But what is the deal? Why can't they just make the stall touch the wall? It's crazy. And then I forgot to share this story on here, but one time I was in the bathroom at the gym, and I was taking a dump, and of the 3 stalls at the gym, only one has a lock. So the other 2 stalls don't have locks. So there's really no way to close the door and for it to keep shut, especially one of the stalls, it opens on its own. So you have to I learned that you can wedge a paper towel into the door so that way it will stay shut. But at that time I didn't think of that. At this time I didn't think of that idea. And this was a moment for me where I was questioning myself, like, how did I not prepare for this moment? How was I not ready? And let me put it to you this way. Somebody saw me in a very vulnerable state, and I don't know who it was, so I feel like they have an upper hand on me, and it's freaking me out, okay? And what happened was, okay, I'm going to put it this way. I was taking a dump. I wipe back to front. And before anybody out there listening starts saying comments about it or whatever, no, what do you think I do? You think I take the shit and just smear it all the way up my sack and my gooch, like up my thigh? Like, no, you don't. Like, what do you do whenever you wipe from back to, from front to back? Do you wipe it up your back all the way up your ass crack? No, you fucking do a little, what kind of motion is it? Like a little, whenever you're telling somebody to come here, but you're just doing it with one finger. That's what you do with your ass. I don't know. That's how I wipe my ass. So what I do is, because it hurts my back, I'm not very flexible, and I don't like the idea of reaching from this way for some reason. To me, it just feels unnatural. Okay. So what I do is I kind of just lean back a little bit, pull my ball sack up, and I'm doing it on video. So if you're listening on the show and you want to see, you can go see on YouTube, Dad Noises Podcast. Check it out, subscribe. But you take your sack and I kind of just lift it up, put it to the side, go in with my hand, and I just fucking do a little, like I'm digging in the dirt, on one finger, just digging in the dirt. It's like I'm scraping the cave walls of an archaeological site. That's basically what I'm doing. Scraping the cave. Okay. I'm in there scraping the cave. And so keep in mind, my legs are open, my nutsack's lifted up, I'm kind of leaned over, I'm fucking scraping the cave, digging in the dirt. And like at a glance, I see movement and I look up. And as I look up, the stall door is closing. And I put my bag there. I did everything to try to show the person, whoever comes into the restroom, somebody's in here taking a shit. And I had headphones in, so I didn't hear. I was listening to something. And I'm like not paying attention. So I just see the stall door shut. And I go, oh my gosh, somebody just saw me I look like a fucking gargoyle. My legs are fucking spread apart. I'm like, and I'm fucking just scraping my asshole. And somebody saw me. And I don't know who it was. So now when I walk around the gym and I make eye contact with men, I'm wondering, did this guy see? Like, this guy knows how I wipe my ass. Like, that makes me feel almost, I feel concerned. I feel concerned for my well-being now, to be honest. That's a lot of information to have on somebody. You know exactly how they wipe, but not even, you don't know, you just don't know how they wipe. Because it's one thing like knowing, like you guys know how I wipe now because I told you. But seeing is believing, right? And that's what this guy has on me. He's seen me in like a vulnerable spot, a vulnerable position. And he didn't even give me the chance to explain myself, to look up. And but honestly, what would have happened if I looked up and made eye contact with him with my fucking hand, one hand grasping my balls, pulling them up, and then the other one in there scraping. And I'm looking at a guy, dead eye. There's just no way. And I'm like really weird about the bathroom. Like, I like to have my own time in there by myself. I don't want the door open. I don't want somebody to watch me pee. I don't even want somebody to hear me pee and poop. And it's not because I'm grossed out by it. It's a mental thing where I get unfocused and then it makes it hard for me to do the action. Okay. I have a shy poop stream and a shy pee stream. Okay. I have two shy streams and you can just call me the two shy stream boy. And there's nothing I can do about it except for poop or pee in the privacy of my own. And I can't do that at the gym. And now before, if you listen to the show, you heard the story about the janitor at the gym who would just mop underneath the stall door and literally hit your feet with the mop, with a wet mop while you're trying to poo. And now I got somebody that just has this information on me. Like I feel like this guy's going to go, you're going to see this guy on a bench machine and another guy's going to go sit next to him and he's going to hand him a file. Like, how you see in the movies where they sit at a public park bench and then the guy like sits down next to him and he hands him a file and like walks off. But it's going to be like pictures of me wiping my ass in the stall and it's like it just is going around the gym like that. And then they're going to like post it on the wall at the gym and say, this man is not allowed because the way he wipes his ass. I don't know what's going to happen. I just know that something about it, I don't feel right. I don't like to feel. Look, I'm fidgeting with my hands now, knowing that somebody saw that. It's freaking me out. So, man, maybe the guy would just come and tell me one day, like, look, man, I know that this has to be bothering you because it would bother me, but I'm the one that saw you go into town on your hole. And I wish you would tell me. Admit it, man. Just come out. There's no reason to lie anymore. There's no reason to hide the information. Tell the truth. So if you're listening to this and you're the guy that saw that, let me know so I can sleep at night. Okay? And that's another thing is like I saw this meme and it made so much sense, and this goes along with buttholes. That's why I'm going to segue into this. But that was my call to action for whoever saw that. But another thing I saw was this meme was like people back in like our ancestors, they were dying of all kinds of crazy stuff. That's like, infections, listeria, stuff like that. And we're out here licking butts in 2023. There's no way a caveman was licking a butt because, if you lick a butt now, you have to go straight to brush your teeth. If you don't, then you're dirty and you need to rethink your life choices. You're probably the type of person that's walking into people's stalls on purpose, knowing when you're timing it when they're wiping their ass and walking in on purpose so you can catch a glimpse a glimpse of a wipe. And I know that's the type of people. If you're the same person, there's just no way that you're not. Okay? I have to put it to you that way. So if you're not brushing your teeth after you do something like that, you got some issues. And our ancestors were not able to do that. And it's pretty crazy that we are at such a point in our civilization that we can do something like that and just go downstairs after you're done and eat a bag of Cheetos. You eat some Doritos right after licking some butt, and it's like nothing matters. You brush your teeth. Maybe you don't lick it. Maybe you don't eat Doritos, but I mean, you still could, to be honest. Nowadays, it just seems like it's so different. But also, like, I guess the cavemen, they probably didn't. You probably wouldn't want to lick their butts. I probably wasn't even an idea. The whole idea of how the species learn to have sex is really strange. Think about it. Like, how did they know that's what you do? I guess maybe they saw other animals doing it. That's how you would know. But how did those animals know? It's just instinctful. It's so weird that there's just some things programmed in us just to know. And yeah, I don't know how. I mean, that's your butthole history lesson of the day. I don't know what else to tell you besides you're welcome. That's all I can tell you. Let's end with this one because you know what? We got two more things here. Yesterday, I thought I was dying. I'm not even joking. It was incredible. It was not incredible in a good way. It was incredible in a bad way. It was incredibly scary. Let's put it that way. I was laying in bed, and out of nowhere, I feel like this weird cramp feeling in my abdomen. And I'm like, oh, and I sit up real fast, and I get up out of bed, and I go into the restroom, and dude, my top right ab is literally like turned in my body. It's like, it feels like there's a rock in my stomach because my ab was like turned. I've never felt it like that. Like, imagine somebody had a hand towel and they were like wringing it out. That's almost what it felt like my ab muscle was doing. It was wrenching. I've never felt anything like that before. It was so painful. And I was like, I'm dying. This is it. And all I've accomplished is having a podcast where I can just freely talk about beeholes. And I'm dying. That's how I felt. And maybe that's what I needed. Maybe that's what kicked me out of this little sad depression of it. Dude, it was weird. I mean, I knew it was a cramp. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not thinking I was like literally dying, but the pain was so like it was so much agony. I've never felt a cramp like that before. I've had cramps in my thighs or my calves, things like that, but I've never had a cramp in my ab like that before. It was weird. I don't even know how else to explain it. It was so weird. But yeah, that was very interesting. Have you ever had a cramp like that before? Because I mean, I've never had one in my stomach like that before, but you know, I think everybody's probably had Charlie horses or cramps in their feet or their legs and stuff. But man, in your abdomen like that, where your muscles like turned, it felt like my muscle was going to get like ripped off my bone, off my rib. That's literally what it felt like. I felt like it was the scene from Alien and with Sigourney Weaver where the guy's on the fucking table or whatever and the alien burst through his stomach. That's what I thought was going to happen. Literally. It was crazy. It was so painful. But I lived to tell the tale, and that's all that matters. I've had this video saved for a while now, and I keep forgetting to show it on here. But dude, it is so funny. It is so freaking hilarious. This kid is like light years ahead of his other fellow man, his other fellow kids his age. He's unroastable. He is everybody needs to take a lesson to show you why when you're being made fun of and stuff, sometimes logic is just the best thing to use. Let me redo that real fast. Let me find it again. Sorry, folks. But, okay, here we go.
This nose is big as hell, boy.
Yo, dick small, cuz.
I'm a child, nigga, I know.
Dude, when the first time I saw that, I laughed so freaking hard because it's the best comeback ever.
This nose is big as hell, boy.
Yo, dick small, cuz.
I'm a child, nigga, I know.
Because what do you say to that? It's like, yeah, you're right. That's why they just laugh, because there's just nothing you can say. And dude, when I saw that, I laughed so freaking hard. I immediately sent it to my cousin. I was like, dude, watch this. It's so funny. Yeah, it's freaking hilarious. Sorry I haven't shared that video with you guys. I've had it cooped up there. And also, one thing in sports news before we go, I just wanted to mention the Mavericks picked up Kyrie Irving, so that's pretty cool. It's going to be interesting to see. If you've been listening to the show, you know I just got back into basketball, so I don't know much about it, but I do know that Kyrie Irving is insanely good. He's also a flat earther. He's also anti-vax, so he's a free thinker. It's interesting. So we will see what happens, but it'll be a lot of fun. And then Kevin Durant went to the Suns, and then the XFL starts soon. So make sure you get ready to check out the live events we are going to have with those games here on the Dad Noises podcast. I cannot wait for that. I'm super excited. Thanks for listening. Please, if you like the show, make sure that you share it with somebody. That's the most important thing. And I don't know why, but when I said share it, I got my pen and I put it into the hole of my hand. Like share it with them. Share it really hard with them. Share it with them. Okay? Share it. Share the show. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you keep on listening to it on all major podcast outlets. And if you have iTunes and you want to leave a review, leave a review. I heard that that's very helpful for the algorithm. So yeah, just help me out. Help the show out if you like it. If you don't, tell people not to listen. You know what? Tell people not to listen is probably the best plan. If you say, man, I found this terrible podcast. It's grotesque. Don't listen to it. It's awful. And then maybe that will make the person be interested in saying well, let me see if it's as bad as this person's saying. And then they listen to it. Whatever strategy you need to use, whatever kind of mental manipulation you need to use to get somebody to listen to the show, I give you permission. Okay. The dark arts, full mentalism on those motherfuckers to listen to my show. But yeah, thanks for listening. I appreciate it. And I think I covered it all. Peace.